You are listening to the Pencil and Paper Podcast Network.
You're listening to the Horror Ramblings Podcast, the show about all things horror. We hope you enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the scariest podcast out there. It's either scary because it's awesome or it's scary bad. I hope it's not the second one, but regardless, guys, this is the Horror Ramblings Podcast. I am your host, Lester Blosser, and I am here with my other host, Mr. Stephen White. How are you doing, Stephen?
I'm doing fine. I think everyone would think it's the former other than the latter. We haven't heard otherwise.
Things have been pretty good with the show, honestly. We've been getting some good feedback. I really hope people start answering our Spotify questions. I was checking it out the other day, and it's sort of weird when you hit the see more option. You can like swipe up, and then you see the questions. I think people sometimes forget that we do ask questions.
Yeah.
Hopefully we get it figured out. I mean, you know, people just... they listen. They just need to communicate a little bit more, you know, like we always talk about. We're trying to build a community. Just, you know, even if you don't like what we're saying, just let us know. We can handle the abuse. I promise you. We can handle it.
Hey, I've been there, done that. You know, YouTube got a lot of people over there that like to just be assholes. And I find them hilarious when I see a thumbs down on a video and I look at the video in which got a thumbs down, and I'm like, you're just being a dick. You're just doing this because you're just trying to be a dick and nothing more. Like one of the only downvotes I've ever seen on a Super Mega Crash Brothers Turbo episode was a very emotional episode that was personal, and someone downvoted. I'm like, wow, you have got to be a particular kind of dick to do that. But okay.
I mean, there are those people out there that, you know, dislike the cute cat videos, and if you dislike cute cat videos, I don't want you around.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. But now, we're recording a little later today. We had stuff going on. You know, it's life. It's life.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, with us not recording at our regular time, I got to thinking a lot, and, you know, Halloween is approaching a lot faster than people seem to realize, I think. One of my wife's co-workers went out and actually happened to find one of the Home Depot skeletons, the 12-foot skeletons that are impossible to find, and that just kind of spurred my longing for it to be Halloween. I am ready. She told me we can't spend $300 on a 12-foot skeleton, though, and that kind of broke my heart. But I understand, you know, you see the cool videos and you see the cool pictures. You know, people have been doing sort of the same thing with the skeletons, but it's really funny. They put these giant 12-foot skeletons up, and then they get a bunch of regular-sized skeletons, and they make them bow down to it like it's their skeleton god in their front yard, and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
But now they've got, like, you know, they got the giant skeletons, they've got a giant werewolf, they've got the pumpkin-headed guy, I think they've got, like, a Grim Reaper. They have a really cool thing. It's a 7-foot spider, and that's pretty... I'm gonna tell you something. If I won the lottery tomorrow, I'd probably go crazy at a Halloween store. And speaking of Halloween stores, that could kind of get us into the start of our subject today, because there's a lot of interesting films and series that are coming out. I know there's one thing that we talked about right before we started recording that's already out that people could watch. But one of the biggest stores out there for Halloween decorations, and let's just be honest, home decor for some people, is the amazing Spirit Halloween. I mean, it's a huge store, and, you know, in a way, the store itself is sort of the embodiment of Halloween, not just because they sell Halloween stuff, but because they bring life back into all of these dead businesses.
Yeah.
You know, they open up in like a Sears that's been closed for 20 years, or, you know, any other random store that shuts down. And it's just kind of funny to see it happen. But Spirit is doing a Halloween film. and they have some Hollywood royalty. I'm sorry, but that's just what I'm going to say. Doc Brown himself, Christopher Lloyd. I mean, what else could I say? You know,
He's always a delight. When you see him, it's like, yay. Just lights up the room.
Yeah, you know, I'll admit the first movie that I had ever seen him in, it was not Back to the Future.
Okay.
The first movie that I had ever seen him in was Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Okay.
Solid choice still. I cannot remember the one movie that it is, but there's a movie where he plays an alien.
Comedy?
Yes, and it's right on the tip of my tongue.
My Favorite Martian.
There it is. There it is. And I love it. He chews the gum in the movie, and he gives the guy a piece, and the guy starts chewing it, and he's like, I don't feel any different. And then he has like a tentacle, and he freaks out, and he's like, we chew the gum so we can look like different species. But Christopher Lloyd is 83. He still has a decent spring in his step. And Spirit went ahead and asked him if they would, well, if he would be interested in being in the Spirit Halloween movie, which was not something that I had seen coming. I watched the trailer for it. I'm sure you've probably seen the trailer for it. And a lot of people, some people are hating on it, and they're like, oh, it's going to be a bad movie. But I'm going to side with the people who are on the other end of the spectrum, and they're going, this is going to be a great movie for kids to kind of get introduced to horror, because it's kind of got the same feel as the Goosebump movies that came out, the Goosebump movies that Jack Black was in. And after watching the trailer, I mean, the whole idea is really gimmicky. I think it's funny. You know, these kids decide to sneak into a Spirit Halloween, and they're going to stay there on Halloween night. But the Spirit Halloween that they're at, the building was built on, I'm assuming, the gravesite of where Christopher Lloyd's character was cursed and where he died. And his spirit comes back, and they make a point in the movie to talk about it. They say that the spirit can possess objects and people. And the reason that they say objects is because there are animatronics and things like that in Spirit that come to life and chase these kids. And a few of them are really popular original animatronics that Spirit actually designed. So I think it's going to be one hell of a great movie. What are your thoughts on it?
It does seem like something that would be aimed, like you said, for kids. Something that would be a nice introduction into horror, which I feel like if it's done proper, you can kind of introduce those horror elements. I mean, we've seen it before. There's other child-friendly horror, and you don't have to scare the bejesus out of them. You just kind of give them a taste. It's like it can get more intense, but here's a little taste. But then we'll play to your kids' sensibilities. And just because it's playing for kids doesn't mean it's going to be bad. I mean, hell, how many? I know you are in the same boat I am. How many family movies that come out and you watch them and they're most of the time atrocious, but you do find those few that are really good. You know, like they're giving something to you just as much as they're giving something to the kid, because they don't know how to find that balance. Yeah. Where you don't play to one side or the other, because you got to understand there's parents going to be watching this too. There are some things kids, can watch without their parents, but if it's a family movie, you've got to have the family in mind. So with this, same thing. Keep your audience in mind. You're going to have parents, so you want to kind of give them a little something, but you don't want to drive away the kids, but you also don't want to drive away the parents. So I think, surely to God, they have thought about this and are going to play right down the middle and know how to balance it out. Do I think it'll be just like the greatest horror family film ever made? I don't know. It could be. It could be a complete gem that we never saw coming. Yeah. But I mean, I'm not super excited, but at the same time, I'm like you. I'll give it a watch. I think it'll be fun.
I think it's gonna be different. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm hoping, sort of in the same realm of what you were just talking about, with making it for the parents just as much as the kids. There are a few movies and series that have come out, even within this last year, that have kind of brought back something from the 80s and the 90s that I absolutely love. And it's sprinkling in adult jokes into what you're watching, because to be honest, when the parents are watching, there need to be jokes that fly over the kids' heads.
Yeah.
That way the grown-ups can have a laugh. And I really hope that the Spirit Halloween movie takes advantage of that. And they do sell like some more adult costumes at Spirit. I kind of hope that, they maybe poke fun at that a little bit, because I think that would be kind of entertaining. I'm not saying that they're going to do that, but I still think that would be interesting. I mean,
sure.
We have an 8-year-old and an 8-month-old at our house, so we watch a lot of children's things. And some of the shows that the kids watch, there are a lot of adult jokes sprinkled in, even for a kid's show. Yeah. And I find myself, when our youngest is asleep, I find myself still having what they were watching on TV, and I'm realizing I'm a full-grown adult watching this cartoon, but there's comedy in it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of adult humor in it. And I think that the Spirit Halloween film is going to do that. Yeah. And I'm glad that they decided to go more in a horror comedy direction than with just a straight up, let's make it just a horror film, let's make it as scary as we possibly can. I think they made the right call kind of making it, to me it kind of feels like that cheesy family movie. And sure. We need movies like that. I think we definitely, we need movies like that. So, but yeah, I have high hopes for it. I'm excited for it. Obviously this is not an ad for Spirit. If anybody from Spirit Halloween's listening though, give us a call. I will vouch for your company as much as possible.
Yeah.
Because I freaking love Spirit Halloween. But to let people know too, you can actually go to Spirit and they have movie posters for the new movie that's coming out, and the movie posters actually look pretty cool too. So I don't know if you've gotten the chance to see them or not, but yeah, I'm excited about it, and I'm excited about Christopher Lloyd. He's getting older, but I'm glad that he's still picking up roles. I'm glad that he's still working because we're running out of a lot of these actors that a lot of us grew up with. They're starting to get older, and to see them still perform is a wonderful thing. So I wish the best for him, and I hope that every project that he works on here on out is just phenomenal. I hope he has lots of fun with it. But yeah, the Spirit Halloween movie, if you guys haven't seen the trailer for it, give it a watch. It'll be good for at least a laugh, and check it out, because I think that people will enjoy it.
Sure.
But yeah, so that's about all I got to say on the Spirit regard.
Okay.
I know that you had some movies, one that we just talked about. So why don't you bring that up, and we'll kind of dive into that one too.
Okay. Well, the trailer that I saw that I wanted to bring up, and I had seen it a few weeks back, it caught me off guard, but there was something about it that made me want to check it out, because I will admit, I don't check out every single trailer I see. When I see Ouija Shark 2, I'm not watching that shit because I already know what I'm in for. But I saw a trailer called, I'm hoping I'm saying this right, Jikirag. 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 That's what it looks like to me. If I'm mispronouncing, I apologize. But the vibe I got out of it is that it's about nature kind of coming back to punish those who are kind of taking from it. I mean, that's a very basic plot, reference to kind of lay it out on. But I mean, obviously nature is kind of personified, it seems, by a god-type creature. You even said that he kind of reminded you of Gore the God Butcher from Thor Love and Thunder, which
quite a bit.
I can agree with, yeah. So, but that's kind of the vibe, because you see these people, it looks like it takes place, I couldn't really get a read on like a time period, but it's definitely centuries ago, 18th century, 17th, maybe a little farther
I was gonna
back.
say maybe 18th century, somewhere in there.
Somewhere in there. Doesn't look like it takes place in the United States. I'm going to assume it's maybe a European country of sorts. I don't remember them saying, but I'm getting that vibe. And people are trying to survive. They're taking from the forest, but then they're warned, only take what you need. And then obviously someone takes a little bit more than what they need. And then the forest being entity seems to go on a revenge. It feels like it's got to be a lot more than that. Maybe they're not explaining as much for reasons plot reasons that they don't want to spoil, which I'm all for. But just the base premise of it alone and what they showed in the trailer, I'm intrigued. I'm kind of all in for it. So it's something I've got my eye on. I didn't catch a release date, or at least I don't remember seeing one. And I didn't even catch a face that looked familiar to me.
Yeah, it kind of looks like it might be maybe some kind of indie film, almost. And I'll be honest, I watched the trailer right before we started recording, and from what I had seen, at least what I picked up, same idea that you were saying. I did notice one of the men in the trailer. He was looking at his arm, and he was having some kind of it looked like growth or something in his arm. So I'm wondering if the main villain is maybe was at one point a human who maybe took from the forest, and the forest took him as its vessel, and maybe it's getting more people to become its vessels.
Yeah, good point.
So,
because it does have a face, so it's not just the trees attacking. I mean, there is a person, so you might be onto something there, yeah.
Yeah, but from what I saw I would definitely, whenever that comes out, that'd definitely be something I would put on my watch list.
For sure.
So
I'm hoping, let me see if I can pull up a release date, or at least a projected release date, because I don't know where it's going to release, if it's going to be theatrical, if it's going to be one of those that kind of lands on a streaming service, because I didn't see any attachment. So I'm assuming it's maybe being shopped around, maybe at festivals right now, which, more power to them.
yeah.
And I hope they find A24. That's who they need to get, because they'll take care of them. I can guarantee you that.
That's one of those studios that just more people need to know about.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, they're on point with everything that they're doing, the movies they release, because we were just talking about X. That's one I've got to get around to. What is that one? Anywhere or Everywhere, Everything Everywhere All at Once. That.
Yes.
I want to see that.
And on a random note, that movie, I guess they only had it was so crazy. They had an extremely small budget for what, a movie budget is these days. And the team that edited everything, I guess, was an extremely small team. So the fact that the movie is as good as it was, people did not expect it to turn out as well as it did. But I guess they brought the house down with it.
Yeah. For sure. Speaking of bringing the house down with some stuff, I know that's been out for a little while, but I don't know if we touched on it here. Prey, because I think we had been off on our own during the time that it came out. I just want to praise that movie for a minute, because well done.
Yeah.
Bringing the Predator back to being scary, vicious, everything that the series needs to be. You're not overcomplicating it. You're going back to basics, but you're changing things up, which made me think, Katrina and I were talking about this, and I'm sure you would agree, because we've seen other people kind of floating this around. I know you showed it to me, but why not let that be the series from here on out? Take a Predator, drop him into another time period, another set of warriors.
Yep.
You could do the one guy on Twitter was saying feudal Japan. Yeah. She was saying Vikings. I mean, why not?
I would dig the Vikings. Yeah. I would dig that. And I heard a really fantastic pitch that they should, if they do the feudal Japan, they should do a master samurai and his disciple go up against basically a predator, and the predators would basically shadow the warriors. It would be an elder predator showing a younger predator the ways of hunting and everything.
Yeah.
And kind of, shadow the two species up against each other. But yeah, I would be completely for that.
Yeah, because at that point, you're not worried about trying to connect dots, which, hey, I know that Prey did they did connect dots, and I'm not going to fault them for it. It was kind of, because it did, for me, it raised a bit of a question, because I'm sitting there thinking, okay, so she got the gun from the guy, one of the hunters. That gun then winds up in the hands of Danny, why am I forgetting his name? Glover.
From the second movie.
Yeah. So that gun winds up in the hands of Danny Glover from the second movie, but then that also means that the gun then eventually winds up back in the hands of the predators.
So did they end up hunting her down and killing her, or?
Yeah, or
makes you wonder.
moved to somebody else's hands.
Yeah.
And then they got it from... I don't know. I mean,
wouldn't that be an interesting gimmick if they connected the movies using the gun and they came out with another movie and somebody had found the gun or something?
Mm-hmm.
Which, speaking of the second Predator movie, somebody put it perfectly. They're like, that movie doesn't get a lot of love, but you gotta admit, he was a badass because he squared up with that Predator himself.
Mm-hmm.
and he won.
Yeah.
He KO'd that Predator.
And he was out of his depths. I mean,
Yeah.
you really think about it, too. Schwarzenegger did not take out the Predator. The Predator took out himself and everything else around him before Schwarzenegger had the opportunity. Danny Glover took the shot. He was like, no. We ain't having this. So, yeah, props to Danny Glover. He was the guy who took the Predator out.
And that badass scene at the end where he's in the ship and they all turn off their cloaking and he's just standing there like, who's next? Come on. I'm just like, yes.
It was just the casual, nonchalant attitude. But, I mean, what else is he going to say? It's like, fuck, I'm screwed. But
I mean, you had that much trouble with one of them. It's like, well, fuck it. I can't.
Yeah.
I got to try, I guess.
Yeah, that movie gets a lot of it. I've heard so many negative things, and I've never understood it because I feel like it's a solid entry that does exactly what I'm saying. What Prey did, what this did. They shifted locations. Just play with it. You've got a great idea, just the basic idea. An alien hunter is going to come down and hunt.
Yeah.
Who, where, and why? Go. That's your slate.
And I had seen somewhere too. They were talking about the Predator series went in this direction and it worked really well.
Mm-hmm.
What about trying it with some other series? And I kind of thought about that a little bit. Like somebody was like, imagine Final Destination, but imagine it like on a ship or something like that. Like in the pirate days or somewhere like this. Or they can't all be winners.
I don't feel like it works with a movie like Final Destination. I guess it could, but
The one I thought was kind of interesting, but it would really change the entire series, I think. Somebody talked about Hellraiser.
Mm-hmm.
Because the box has existed for basically forever.
Yeah.
And that means there have been other Cenobites. So that is something I think they could kind of play around with. I don't know how well it would do because whenever people think of Hellraiser, they want to see Pinhead. Like,
sure.
Hellraiser kind of suffers from the same thing that Nightmare on Elm Street suffers from. You picture one villain.
Right.
And that kind of makes it hard. With a series like Prey or something like something like that, all the Predators can be different. Which I know Prey got some hate from some people because the Predator looked different. But my thing is there are different variations of the Predator species, and a lot of it is because, and they kind of touched on it in one of the Predator movies. It was one of the movies that didn't do very well.
The third one, Predators.
Yes,
they were showing them like they had tribes or something like that.
And then they had the one movie, it might have been Predators 2, or it might have been the Predators movie that you're talking about, the third one, or maybe the fourth one. But they had the Super Predator, and what it was
fourth one,
whenever they would come to Earth and they would hunt, the prey that they had the hardest time taking down, they would take DNA from it, and they would splice it with their DNA, and it's kind of a weird idea, but at the same time, they are an advanced species of hunters. It's not that far off that that couldn't happen. But I didn't mind what the Predator looked like in Prey. Like everybody says, it's the feral Predator. It's an earlier variation of the Predator. So, but yeah, no, I appreciate everything they did in that movie, and I love the fact that they showed the Predator hunting more than just people.
Mm-hmm.
They showed it hunting animals and things because it was getting a gauge on how strong different enemies were.
Sure.
So, yeah, I'll give it to that all day, and I will agree with you. I would love to see a Predator go to Japan and fight a samurai. I think that would just be the coolest thing.
I mean, come on. You can't tell me that just doesn't scream awesome.
Yeah.
If they said that was the next entry, then sign me up. I'm there. Because they had me when they said Predator hunts Comanche tribe. Sold. You got me. Because the idea alone sounds like a good time. Like you can play around with this and do something interesting with it. And I'm so glad they didn't drop the ball.
Yeah.
So
it was a Predator movie I don't think people were expecting.
No, exactly. And I think that's what kind of helped it, I think, because it just, I wouldn't say it went under the radar. It was kind of there suddenly. And it was like, yeah, this new Predator movie's coming out. And there was no expectation. I think they were low. So when we get what we got, we're like, oh, wow. We weren't expecting something big. And I think that's what was the biggest disappointment with The Predator is the people behind the scenes. You had directors like Shane Black. You had Fred Decker, I think, helped him write it. And they've done a lot of stuff before. Good stuff, questionable stuff. Just depends on where you stand. I personally think Fred Decker's a bit underrated, especially in the horror genre. Did stuff like Night of the Creeps and Monster Squad, stuff like that.
That's got my favorite line of all time in it. And I bet you... Oh, there's 2 lines in it. But
okay.
my one favorite in Monster Squad is when they're with the Wolfman. And he's like, kick him in the nards. Kick him in the nards. Wolfman don't got nards. Kick him in the nards. Kicks him. Wolfman starts howling. And the kid's shocked. And he goes, Wolfman's got nards. And then the other scene is when Dracula walks up to the little girl that's got the amulet. And he gently rubs her face for a minute. And then he lifts her up by her chin. And he goes, give me the amulet, you bitch. Golden. Just golden.
But yeah, I mean, you had, again, I won't say that they are super great award-winning directors, but they're respected. People who watch their stuff, they're like, oh yeah, I dig their stuff. And I think there was a bit of an expectation from them doing a Predator movie that just didn't quite live up to, I guess, what we were hoping it would be. I had fun with it, but it did get a little convoluted toward the end, and that ending was just kind of it was a huge letdown. It's kind of like you're building to something huge, and then we get that suit, and you're just kind of left wondering, like, this is what we were trying to, okay.
Yeah.
It should have been something a lot bigger, like the ideas I've heard. And I know some of them would have been large stretches, like Ellen Ripley, huge stretch.
Yeah.
I understand that couldn't work. Dutch, on the other hand, why not? But again, I think Schwarzenegger was busy doing politics, or I don't know what the hell he was doing at the time.
Who knows? With Arnold, probably planning out Terminator number 56 or something.
Because, I mean, hey, that's the one franchise he always comes back to. And he always says he wants to come back to Predator. And it's like, well, then do it. Dude, yeah. All they're asking for is a cameo, and you've turned it down, 2 or 3 times by now?
Well, maybe they can't afford him anymore.
Maybe not.
It could be something of that nature.
Yeah.
But
true.
yeah, no, Prey was just one of those films. And on a side note, just so people know, and I think this is crazy, because this company is really good at keeping their main name separate from everything you own. Just so everybody knows out there, Predator and the Xenomorphs from Alien, those are Disney characters now.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe when they come out with another Kingdom Hearts, maybe there's going to be a Predator level.
Dude, I think I saw a trailer the other day. It was something for Disney, or like some big showcase. I thought it was their D23 showcase. Like we're letting you know it's coming. And that's when they announce all their big stuff they didn't announce at Comic-Con. Mm-hmm. And I hit play, and they start showing all these Disney properties. And right in the middle, there's a big alien queen. And I was like, what? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Could you imagine if Predator ended up joining like the Star Wars universe? Could you imagine all those bounty hunters just like, nope, not today?
I mean, come on. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Could you imagine Boba Fett going up against a Predator? That would be pretty badass.
Come on.
Not gonna lie.
We need Star Wars What If right now, just so this can happen.
That would be fantastic. You know they're listening with their mouse ears right now, anyways. So.
Mm-hmm. Hey, they got comics they could do. It's not the same, but still, I'd take it.
Right.
See it happen.
Anything we can get to see it.
Yeah. Must.
Oh man. Now, speaking of movies, because I know we're kind of talking about some things that have recently come out and that are coming out. You brought it up to me. I haven't had the chance to watch it yet, but Orphan First Kill.
Mm-hmm.
It released the 19th. So yes, so today's the 20th. When we're recording, not that people need to know when we record, but yesterday it came out on Paramount Plus. Mm-hmm. It is a prequel to the Orphan film that came out. God, that was like 2017 or something like that.
Was it that long ago? I felt like it was. Huh.
I feel like it's been.
I mean, it has been a while. I felt like maybe
It's been longer than that, guys.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a lot longer than that.
2009.
But, wow. Yeah. See, I knew it would have been a while.
And kudos to them. Kudos to them completely, because the girl that plays the orphan in it, her name is Isabel Furman.
Mm-hmm.
She's 25.
Yeah, blew my mind.
The way they make her look like a child is just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's one of those people though that she still looks really young, just like the little girl from the. I know you're not a fan of these movies, but the little girl from the Silent Hill films.
Yeah,
she still looks very young.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't gotten the chance to watch Orphan First Kill. I don't know. Have you gotten the chance to watch it yet? No. I've watched the trailer for it. I've seen a little bit about it. It looked solid to me, and in all honesty, the original Orphan, I thought it was a fantastic movie. Not a lot of people talk about it, but
they don't.
It was a great film, and it had a great twist.
Yeah, no, it kind of took me off guard. I was like, wow. And I think the twist is one of the things that kind of made me wonder how they were going to continue a series like that, and that might be why they didn't do it forward and went backwards, which I'm still kind of intrigued why you would go backwards. Like, what are you trying to tell us? What needs to be told in the past that we don't already know?
Yeah.
You know?
And I think a lot of it was they were trying to explain her story and why she was the way that she was, you know? And honestly, films like that can be hit or miss because sometimes you don't want to know why a character's evil.
Sure.
You know, if you get told it's just like they want to do a prequel to Nightmare on Elm Street. If they did a prequel where it just showed Freddy committing his heinous acts before he got burned, cool. That'd be cool. I'd be fine to see how evil he was when he was alive, and he wasn't able to attack people in their dreams. To see how he was when he was alive and how he did everything when he was alive. I don't need his whole backstory. I have his backstory. He's the son of 100 maniacs. Alice Cooper was his dad. That's all I need to know. You know,
and I think we've seen time and again. Sometimes when you dig in too deep, you lose the mystique of the character, and there's something about it that you just kind of don't want to know. And once you kind of have those little details, it just kind of takes something away. And I think they've done that quite a bit with a lot of characters. Sometimes it does work.
Yeah.
But yeah, more often than not, when you add it can be one small little detail, and you're just like, man, you ruined this character for me.
Honestly, Rob Zombie did that for me with his Halloween movies.
Yeah.
The first movie I actually liked pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
The second movie where he was like hallucinating, he was seeing his mom and everything, they lost me. They really did. And it sucks because I really loved who they picked to play Dr. Loomis. Malcolm McDowell, oh my God, he's fantastic. I love him in everything I've ever seen him in.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. That's definitely one of those movies where the details are just too much. I give him props for trying to do something different with part 2 and trying to do something that no one's going to expect, because if you really honestly take a look at the first one, it's filling in all these gaps that we didn't need. So now Michael Myers just seems like some troubled kid that turns into some monstrous Hulk who goes on a killing spree, and it just doesn't land the same. Yeah. Because he's no longer a boogeyman.
Yeah, just something about the original film where it was just nobody knew why he snapped. The evil just finally appeared out of him.
Mm-hmm.
That's gold.
Yeah.
You know, that keeps that mystery to the character. And yeah, you learn a little bit more about Michael in the original films, but it never took away from the overall story of the character, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Now, speaking of Rob Zombie, I just thought about this since we're talking about things that are coming out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how to bring this up. Rob Zombie is doing a Munsters film.
He is.
And I really enjoyed the original series.
Mm-hmm.
I am having trouble with this new movie that's coming out. He filmed it a certain way. He had his reasons for filming it. Him and everybody else that they have in this movie, they're all big fans of the actual series. But I watched the trailer and it did not look good to me. And I watched it in black and white because somebody did it in black and white, and they're like, it is so much better in black and white. I watched the trailer in black and white. It was a little bit better. But to me, as bad as it sounds, the best thing about the new movie so far to me is the guy that they picked to play Grandpa Munster.
Yeah.
Because he is extremely convincing and just, he reminds me of the original. And I know, the thing is if you were revamping it, if you were revamping the whole series and starting new, I would be cool with characters acting different than what they acted like in the show.
Mm-hmm.
But this is not that. This is a prequel. This is about Herman and his wife meeting.
Mm-hmm.
It's the prequel to the series. And I understand, the actors that played these characters, they're long gone. But I don't know. To me, it seemed a little too cheesy, if that makes sense. I don't know. I'm sure you've seen the trailer for it, but what are your thoughts?
I want to believe that he has made a movie that is in line with the show, that it is in proper spirit. To say, and I know this doesn't always translate because I've heard this same thing before. I'm a fan. Oh my God, I can't wait. Sometimes that doesn't translate because you try to do too much. And I think that's another concern I've seen is people are like, man, he's got a lot of these obscure characters from the show in here. And is it just going to be like, hey, look at that guy. Hey, look at that guy. Hey, look at that guy. And we don't really get time to focus on Herman and Lily and Grandpa, or I don't know. But I honestly feel like the trailer was cut in such a way that it doesn't do the movie justice. I could be wrong. It could be telegraphing exactly what this movie is. I do intend to watch it and give it, my own opinion when I do, because I want to think it's a situation where the trailer didn't market it quite the way it needed to be marketed. Maybe they didn't understand how to market it, because we're talking about a show that's, 60 years old now?
Something like that, yeah.
I could be overestimating. I'm trying to guess. To black and white TV, that's...
to put it into perspective, which is crazy, I didn't realize this, but I was wondering why the Munsters ended up getting canceled, because it was a very popular show.
Mm-hmm.
The Batman series with Adam West had started.
Oh.
And they just could not keep up with the views.
Understandable.
And so, that led us where we are. And I guess I didn't really look at it the way that you just explained it, but, that really could be the case. Maybe the trailer's not going to do it justice. I've seen that happen before.
Yeah, many times. There's times it's worked in the opposite way. You see a trailer and you're like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. And then you watch the movie, it's like, this is garbage.
And it's sad because it happens way too much.
Way too much. Yeah.
But God, I didn't even really think about that. But yeah, I hope it's going to be good.
Yeah, I want to be positive about it. I want to believe in his heart of hearts and that everyone involved, they love this stuff. They are being true to the source material, but not so much to hinder what this movie needs to be for a modern day audience. Because I think that also might be its Achilles heel, is you'll have people coming in who don't know anything about the Munsters and they're watching this. And if it is so ingrained into the original series, fans of it are going to love it. But then you're going to drive away people who don't know what the Munsters are, and it just might not be their cup of tea because it's hearkening back to something that doesn't exist today.
Yeah.
And it might just kind of need a bit of modern, sensibility to it to kind of appeal to a broader audience. Because even him going PG, I think that was a thing that a lot of people were just like, Rob Zombie's directing the Munsters? Oh my God. And thought he was going to turn it into some R-rated, gore fest. And he's like, no, I'm playing to what the show was. I'm not going to turn it into something that's not. And I appreciate that. I respect that.
Yeah.
So just have to wait and see on Netflix. I think it's where it's dropping to.
I believe so.
And next month, I do believe.
If anything, I'll watch it because I know Cassandra Peterson's going to be in it.
Yes, indeed. And, two of the original actors who are still living are going to be in it. Butch Patrick, he's going to be... I feel like they said the character of the Tin Can Man, and Pat Priest, who played the niece. What's her name?
Oh, the only one that was actually human out of them. Yeah.
I can't remember her name.
I can't think of her name either.
Damn it. Well, she's going to be in there. Who she's playing, I don't know. I didn't catch that information.
It would be awesome if was it Butch Patrick?
Mm-hmm.
If if his character in it actually had the cars, because
cool.
I'm going to shout out Horror Hound again, because he goes to the conventions sometimes and he has the cars
That's awesome.
and they still run.
You
and
know,
the last time we went to the convention, real quick, I got to tell you this because this is crazy. He had videos that he had posted up. He was driving the car around town. He went through the drive-through in one of the cars. But I mean, that'd be so cool. But what were you saying? I'm sorry.
No. I didn't mean to cut you off. No, I actually had an opportunity to meet him down here in my hometown.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was at this. There's a shop that opened up off the square, and it's kind of like a memorabilia shop for toys and things like that. And they've got it seems more wrestling themed, which is why I've been in there maybe like once, because I looked at all the other stuff and it's just, like old toys, like old He-Man and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, stuff like that. And then some more modern stuff like the NECA stuff and whatnot. So, I mean, if you're looking for gifts, I mean, it might be a place to kind of pop in, but a lot of it seemed to be WWE kind of stuff, and I'm just like, I don't care for that. But he was down there, and I missed the day, and I regret not going down there. I don't even know why he was in this town of all places. I'm like, dude, you're Butch Patrick. I know his name doesn't carry the weight that it does, but still. It's like,
Maybe he knew the owner.
Maybe, I don't know. It just, I kind of wish I'd have been down there, because he could have brought his cars, man, and that would have been cool as hell to see. And I regret that I overlooked that moment, because I saw it and I was like, that'd be cool, and then it just went right by me.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
but I will keep high hopes for the movie. When I saw the trailer, like I said, when I saw it in black and white, it reminded me more of the original monsters, and I think that's what kind of helped me sort of be like, okay, maybe this isn't as bad as I'm thinking it's going to be, but as bad as it sounds, I probably won't go into it with the highest of hopes.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that I'm surprised by it.
I would
honestly.
be, I'd like to be too.
So, but while we're on the subject of wonderful series from the past that are being remade, this is sort of a remake, in a sense, and I kind of want to talk about it. Netflix is going to be getting the Wednesday series, which is about Wednesday Addams and her family. The show's going to focus more on Wednesday. They're bringing in something kind of cool. She's going to be going to the school where her mother and father met, and it's full of people that are, kind of dark and creepy. And the trailer has a line in it I really love, where one of the girls asks her if she wants to take a stab at being social, and she responds with, "Well, I do like stabbing." I think it's going to be great. I thought it looked fantastic. It's getting some hate, and it's getting some hate because they don't like some of the casting choices. Mainly Gomez. Gomez is getting the most hate. I know we just talked about this before we started recording. It's Luis, is it Guzman?
Guzman.
I'm bad with
Luis
names.
Guzman.
He is playing Gomez. He's kind of a chubby guy.
Yeah.
He's Hispanic, and people are hating on it, and they're like, "Oh, he's the Wish version of Gomez." And if you go back and you look at the comics, the original Addams Family designs, that is what he looks like.
Hell, they leaned into it in the animated movie.
Exactly. I was just gonna say that. Now, I understand why people are saying this. In the 90s, we got spoiled with the Addams Family. We did. I mean, let's even say it. Christopher Lloyd was Uncle Fester.
And back around. You see that?
And what's his name again?
Raul Julia.
Thank you.
He was phenomenal.
I loved him in everything that I'd ever seen him. He was even in the Street Fighter movie back in the 90s, which was not a good movie.
But he was the best part.
He was the best part of that entire film. And keep in mind, he was dying of stomach cancer while filming that movie. And he filmed that movie because his children loved Street Fighter. And he wanted to leave something behind for them. So respect all day long to him there.
Absolutely.
Now, he was a fantastic Gomez.
Yeah.
He was over the top. He was charming. He was funny. He was witty. He embodied Gomez. This new series, yes, Gomez is a lot different, but the show is called Wednesday. So we don't even know how much Gomez and Morticia and Pugsley are going to be in it. And, the original Wednesday, she's coming back. She's going to have a cameo in the show.
Mm-hmm.
I'll watch her do anything because, I mean, you know, when I was growing up, she was kind of hot. She's still kind of hot. I'm going to just admit that.
Oh, yeah.
And the girl that... Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, while you brought her up, I actually heard an interview with her on Mark Maron's podcast this week, and she was talking. She actually has a show, if anyone has watched it, sounds kind of horror themed in a way, but I won't say it's like completely horror themed, but it has dark elements to it, called Yellow Jackets on Showtime.
I've seen that, yeah.
I've heard about it, and when they were promoting it, I think they were promoting around the same time Dexter came out, New Blood, and I kept looking at the trailers going, yeah, okay, I might want to watch this, and I wanted to watch it, and I just kind of set it aside. I was like, I'll get to it, and then after listening to her talk about it, and they didn't spoil anything, luckily, because that was my worry about them talking about it. But if they did spoil anything, it went right over my head because I didn't catch anything. But
yeah,
they towed a line, but it made me want to watch it more. And of course, they talked about her time doing Addams Family and stuff like that. She actually claims, and now I'm going to have to watch that movie with a different perspective. She claims that Casper is her worst movie. Worst movie as in the movie she feels like she is acting at her absolute worst. She thinks the movie is good, but she thinks she's not good in it.
Huh.
And I thought, all right, okay. And now I'm going to have to just look back on, next time I watch it and see if I can pick up what she's talking about. Because maybe I thought she did fine, but
yeah, maybe there was just maybe there was just a scene or two where she just didn't feel like she was giving it her all or something.
And you think about it too, prior to that, all we'd really ever seen her in is the Addams Family movies. So we were used to this one type of Christina Ricci, and then she goes on to do Casper, and now she's a normal person. And it's, you kind of take it at face value. It's like, oh, all right, well, that's who she is normally. So cool. I didn't really look at it as bad acting or that she was phoning it in. It was just like, it's jarring.
We got so used to seeing her as Wednesday that it just kind of became the norm. So seeing her as something else, we didn't know how to take it.
Exactly.
Now, the new Wednesday is being played by Jenna Ortega.
Mm-hmm.
She's kind of a upcoming actress. She's been in a few movies as of late. She was in Scream 5. She was in the movie X from the A24 studio. I first had seen her in The Babysitter Killer Queen. And all of these films, I haven't had the chance to see X yet, which I know there's probably people listening going, you guys are the horror ramblers and you haven't seen this
yet? We're working on it.
We're getting there, guys. We're getting there. But she's been fantastic in the films that I've seen her in. And even the first scene where I actually really get to hear her talk in the Wednesday trailer when she goes, the only person that gets to torture my brother is me. I was sold. I was like, okay. You delivered that with like no emotion like Wednesday would. Like there's that darkness to her. I think it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't think that they had any issues with picking the cast that they picked.
No.
I don't know if they have an Uncle Fester.
Yeah, I haven't heard that either, yeah. I
have not seen anything about that. I'm actually going to look at the cast just kind of real quick while we're on here to see if I see anybody.
And, I got to give them props. I mean, you were even talking about how, with Luis Guzman being there, Jenna Ortega, they have an all-Hispanic cast for the family. I mean, they kind of level the playing field versus being like, well, here's a white actor, here's a white actor, here's a white actor, and the Hispanic. For the one guy named Gomez. I give him props for that. They just said, no, let's make it across the board. Let's do it right. And I think they all work. I've only seen the one picture of Pugsley. Was he in I didn't remember seeing him in the trailer.
I don't think you really see him in the trailer. I don't
Unless
think he was
I blinked.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing him because for a second I thought maybe he was in the pool and like they were torturing him in the pool. Mm-hmm. But I was like, no, she threw in the piranhas. She tortures him, but she wouldn't torture him like that.
Right.
And it's gonna be bloody. The original Addams Family, even the original show was not bloody. It was in black and white. The movies were not bloody. This is Tim Burton's version of it, and it's kind of bloody.
Yeah.
I mean, she even talks about how the bully who gets, maimed by the piranhas, she talks about how she did the world a favor and that people like him shouldn't procreate. So that tells you right there what the piranhas got a hold of.
Oh, yeah.
But no, I think it's going to be good.
Yeah.
And I think people who are complaining about the casting, I think they just need to sit down for a minute and just really think about it. You know, if I had it my way, you know, Raul Julia, there we go. he never would have passed away.
Yeah.
He'd be Gomez now.
Hmm.
I kind of like the idea that people have said that they thought it would be cool to do a Wednesday show where Christina Ricci is a grown version of Wednesday, and she's the new matriarch of the family, and they could bring in new characters and everything.
Hmm.
In all honesty, even if she plays a different character in this series, if they decided to do another series like that, she could play an adult version of Wednesday.
Hmm.
Not gonna say that they couldn't do that, but yeah, I'm gonna give it a watch. I think it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
I think the people that are hating on it, I think they're a little closed-minded, I guess is the best way to put it. They're holding on to the past, and I think you know, sometimes it's okay to do that in certain regards. You know, sometimes it's a dangerous thing. I say that, you know, and here I am talking about I'm worried about the Munsters film. But this series isn't trying to be a prequel or anything to the Addams Family. This is something completely different in that regard, I guess. So, I don't know. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for a lot of these new things that are going to be coming out. But is there any other films that you can think of that you would like to bring up, or any series or anything?
Nothing comes to mind at the moment.
Okay.
I guess since we're on Netflix real quick, I just want to shout out, if you haven't checked out Sandman, I wouldn't say that it's horror themed per se, but there are some horrific elements in it. So if you
Kinda
like
dark.
something dark and deep, and it's very, if you've ever read the books, they're pretty on point. I mean, Neil Gaiman, the guy that wrote it, he's involved, which, again, another story that I heard on Mark Maron's podcast, a podcast I haven't listened to in quite some time until here recently, because I'm trying to fill voids left by others that have disappeared. And I just started listening to, you know, nitpicking people, and Neil Gaiman was one of those people. I was like, yeah, I'd love to hear what goes on in that man's mind. And for the longest time, I remember hearing movies and shows and all these ideas. People wanted to adapt Sandman into all this stuff. And the one rule was like, keep the writer away. And they never happened. And then when the Netflix series came out, I was like, no, bring him in. And what happens? It happens.
Yeah.
How about that? Get the guy who knows what the material's about and make it happen. And they adapted it pretty accurately to the books, but made some tweaks. And the fact that he signed off on those tweaks and he was like, no, I want to do it this way because for this particular format, it's going to work better. We've talked about that, I'm sure, or if we haven't, I'm sure we're on the same page. Books and movies don't always translate the same way.
Yeah.
So you have to make adjustments. And as long as they are good adjustments and they don't hurt the narrative, it's fine. Make the changes.
And I've
I'm okay
actually
with it.
seen, because I haven't watched it yet, because we were just talking about that too, that I've been wanting to watch it. But I have been seeing clips where they've shown like graphic novels of scenes that the writer wrote a certain way, and you see the scene playing out on the series exactly how it plays out in that media.
Yeah.
And to me, that's just that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know it, and like you just said, and yeah, it's something that we have kind of talked about. You know, I think it's great to bring a writer on, especially if you're going to change things. But as long as the narrative is still there, it's great. You know, movies do that all the time. It's just like in Harry Potter. There's a scene that was never in the movie where Harry and Hagrid are eating like hamburgers or something while they're waiting for the train or something. That never happened in the movie. But it doesn't take away from the movie. You still love the character. You still know that the characters are close to each other and everything else. It's little things. But, you know, if you're removing a whole big piece of dialogue that keeps the story moving, you can't move. You can't completely remove certain things. Just like you said, tweak them around and then you're good. But I've been seeing a lot of praise for Sandman, and it's on my watch list.
I honestly feel like when the writer comes aboard, even if they're not actively involved I mean, he was actively involved in the creation of this series, so I'm pretty sure he's a showrunner and made probably like final calls for a lot of it. But even if he wasn't, but still was kind of a consultant of sorts, and he thought that everything that was done, because that was one of the things he said if they don't do another season, which they haven't announced season 2, which would be really stupid but it's Netflix, so I don't hold my breath anymore that they're gonna revive anything or keep it going, because they've got the cancel button going crazy now. But he said if we don't get another season, I am happy with what we did, because I got to do everything that I wanted to do for that run of stories that they told. He said I was able to do everything that I wanted to. So I would be perfectly fine if we didn't. I would love to have a second season, sure. But I will be content if it's just that, because I can look back on it and say, I did that, I did what I wanted to, and it's done.
Yeah.
And good. A lot of writers don't even get that, to see their stuff adapted. Like if I had the opportunity, which I know this is like fiction way out the ass, but if I'd had an opportunity to direct a Marvel film of any kind with a character Stan Lee created, and Stan Lee came up to me and says, this was the greatest thing ever, oh my God, I love it, that's the blessing, the biggest one I could have ever asked for. I mean, if he told me he hated it, or if I found out he hated it, it would crush me, because I wouldn't want to disappoint him. I wish people would listen when Alan Moore says, do not adapt to my stuff. Because Zack Snyder, if you don't know, I don't like this man. I've stated this on other podcasts several times. So if you're a Zack Snyder fan, more power to you. I'm just not a fan at all. He had the audacity to say, well, when I directed Watchmen, I was trying to just do everything that he wanted. This is how I feel like he sounds. I was trying to do that. So, if there's a day, that it's just raining outside and he can't go out and he's just sitting at home, he's bored, and he just happens to have a Watchmen DVD, he'd pop it in, maybe give it a watch, yeah. And you know what Alan Moore's response to that was? Fuck you. I'm not watching your goddamn movie. Thank you. That arrogant attitude, thinking that the man whose work you have adapted and ruined, as far as I'm concerned, because it can be true to the man, I'm going to go off on a rant. Just move on.
Well, speaking of Netflix series, just real quick, I want to point this out, because I know we're kind of closing things out here, but one show that I really want to bring up real quick is The Witcher. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't know this, but the author of The Witcher, he actually, when the video games got made, they asked for his permission, and he was like, yeah, cool, go ahead. He didn't realize that video games were even as popular as they were, so he wasn't getting anything for it.
They offered him 2 deals.
Yes, I remember this.
Mm-hmm. 2 deals. The deal was one lump sum or residuals, and then you'll get paid over time. He said, lump sum. Yeah. And then they're like, okay, here you go. Here's what you paid. And then the games took off, they became popular, and then what did he start doing? He's like, hey, I'm owed money. And it was like, no. We had an agreement. You asked for the lump sum. We offered you the percentage. You didn't take it. Therefore, sorry, legally, you have no rights. They did, however, and I'll give CD Projekt Red a little bit of bat pack for this, is they did pay him another sum. Yeah. And just kind of like, all right, well, here. And you go, stop whining.
Yeah, I think it's hilarious. He didn't understand that it was going to be as big as it was. But I have to give Henry Cavill some credit for The Witcher, because there are so many moments that you hear about and you read about where they're like, hey, we're going to do the scene this way. And Henry Cavill's like, it wouldn't happen like that. Well, what do you mean? Well, that's not how it happened on page such and such. Because he's a huge fan of the books. So I love it, too, when the actors that play these characters are like, no, I think they should do it this way. Or I think they should do it this way. I think that makes it better when the people, and not just the writers or the directors, but everyone that works on the film as a whole. A film is like a living, breathing thing, really. Everybody's responsible for bringing it to life the rest of the way and getting the finished product. And, you know, some of the most famous lines in movies and things like that were just things that the actors did on a whim. You know, like, you're going to need a bigger boat in Jaws. That was not in the script. Welcome to primetime, bitch. Not in the script. You know, all these things are just, they're done by these characters who love, by these actors who love to play these characters, or these writers who created these worlds. And, you know, just like Marvel, one more time to bring that up, you know, they cared about what Stan Lee said when they were doing these movies. And he became a big part of it, because without him, Marvel wouldn't have been what it was. So, but yeah, no, I love it when stuff like that happens. It's it's fantastic.
you have to trust your actors. I mean, they're the ones playing the characters. They're the ones really getting to know them. And I know that a lot of times they have like little character Bibles and things that have details about the character, but the actor's the one who's getting in there. And I understand sometimes they can take it to an extreme. Those actors are idiots, but those who can get into the mind of their character, understand them, and then maybe work with the writer and the director and be like, hey, I think this is how I feel playing this character and have been playing this character. This doesn't seem like them. I mean, I know I've never directed like a big budget film or anything like that, but anytime I've had opportunities to direct people, that has always been my open door policy with directing is, if you like whatever's on the page, if it doesn't seem natural to you, then find a way to make it sound like how you would say it. You know, find your voice within it, because I'm writing it based on the character, the situation, but you are the character. If you don't think you'll say that, if you don't feel like a word I put in there, because sometimes I use big words, and you don't think you use big words, then use a dumbed down version of the word or something like that. You know, if that's how it's more natural to you. And I feel like that helps the performances, because that's me giving them carte blanche to add their own flavor into it and try different things. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I think that's a smart play.
And I mean, honestly, that's how this show works most of the time. You use the big words, and I kind of dumb it down for everybody, but it works. It works. It works. But yeah, no. If you don't have anything else, I guess before we tell the people where to find us and all that fun stuff, I just, again, want to tell all the ramblers out there, thanks for taking the time to, you know, listen to us. We really want to know what you guys are excited for, whether that be video games, movies, books, toys that are coming out. Real quick, too, I can't remember who it was. I think it's for some haunted attraction. They did a like Little Killer Clowns film.
I do remember seeing something about that, yeah.
And now people are up in arms and they want another Killer Clowns. The guys that created it have had ideas in the past for one, but that is something, again, I don't know if that's an upcoming project, but it is one that if it was upcoming, I would be extremely excited for. Since we're talking about new things, that's something that I think would be exciting. But hey, there's maybe a question we can ask this week for the episode. What new horror movie or book or anything, what new thing in horror media are you excited for? I mean, there's plenty out there to choose from. But again, I just want to tell all the ramblers out there, thanks for taking the time to listen to us. We really do appreciate it, guys. And
absolutely.
Steven's better at telling all you wonderful people out there where to find us. I trip over words sometimes. Words are hard. So
it's all right.
I will let you do your thing, Steven.
So, like you said, let us know how you feel about all the upcoming horror television shows, movies, books, whatever you got out there. Tell us on Twitter at Horror Ramblings. And if you've got more to say and a tweet just won't do, send us an email at horrorramblings@gmail.com. And if you love social media groups, follow us on Facebook, join our Facebook group, and hang out with fellow horror fans like yourselves. You can even find us on Instagram to see an assortment of horror images. Maybe you're feeling generous and you want to support this show financially. Why don't you head on over to patreon.com/pencil and paper productions to chuck in a buck and help this and other shows under the banner. And if you want to say nice things about the show, head on over to Apple Podcasts. Leave us that beautiful 5-star review. You don't even have to say anything. Just hit 5 stars and move along. You can save yourself time. I think people just don't like saying stuff in words. It's fine. Just hit the 5 stars and go. And you can express your feelings, help the show grow at the same time, because it helps us move up the ranks. The more 5 stars we got, we move up the ranks. You can also do that very same thing on Spotify if you're so inclined. Even answer those little questions and polls we post over there, like, what is your favorite thing? You can do it right there on Spotify. All of it's appreciated. And most importantly, tell your fellow horror fiends to search Horror Ramblings on the preferred podcasting platform. We should be almost everywhere. If not, we're working on it. And if nothing else, keep up with any and all things at pencilpaperproductions.com, horror-ramblings. Links are in the show notes for your convenience.
And remember, guys, stay spooky out there.
This has been the Horror Ramblings podcast. Join us next time for even more.
This has been a Pencil and Paper Podcast Network production.